Trade union chiefs are split over how to get the best pay deal out of Rachel Reeves. We're going to read into this more from this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline of the trade union chiefs are split over how to get the best pay deal out of the Chancellor Rachel Reeves. There are really angry union leaders behind the scenes, according to this exclusive. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So, let's just make sure we're clear on a couple of things here. Now, I know that there are very many people who obviously don't like unions, don't like what they do, don't like that, and there are people who are very much prominent of unions. I'm one of those people who generally believe that you should be a part of a union, join a union. Unions are very good, and I think they're fundamentally important to protect workers' rights, not just increasing pay, but to protect workers' rights, protecting their terms and conditions, to make sure that they have a job and income so that they're able to have a roof over their heads and etc. in their lives. Unions and united in bodies helps people rather than people trying to fight for better pay and work conditions on their own. I think it's very, very, very important. But there are those obviously who don't believe in the union and don't think it is in their best interest, when I fundamentally disagree. Now, before Labour government, for the last 14 years, we have had so many strikes. We had doctor strikes, nurses strikes, we had teachers on strikes, we had barristers on strikes, and we haven't even talked. And then there's also the train strikes. We've had so many different public sectors on strike. Now, yes, the Conservatives have, before the Conservatives were kicked out, yes, a lot of them, quite a few of them, did get their pay deals sorted. However, they did not get the deal that they wanted. But obviously, I would argue to some people, is that they went with some of the deals that the Conservatives had offered them because they weren't expecting a general election to have been called when it was called. And they were thinking more about like, this is the best we're going to get from these Conservatives, let's just take it, as opposed to getting the most fairest and most reasonable pay deal. Now the Conservatives are gone, and Labour, who are always considered a party of the working class, yes, they do have their own union bodies, but they're not affiliated with every single union. Let's be very clear about that. They are affiliated with a few unions. Let's be clear. Obviously, you would think that they would give the best possible deal that they possibly can to those who are going out on strike and ensuring paying working conditions and whatnot. Now, obviously, the Labour government can't really control about terms and conditions so much. They can control the pay, but terms and conditions is more problematic within the company that company or people that they work under. So, would say for hypothetically, obviously, like the train companies, for example, until they're under public ownership, it's really something that they can only so much they can control from their point of view. And but obviously, if it's under public ownership, obviously they can kind of press down on that. I think. I think that's really, really important. And now they can push Rachel Reeves. I'm sure that they have pushed Rachel Reeves, but I also think this whole physical responsible ownership thing. This is the line that they've always been good. That they say they would be physically responsible, that they would look after the money, all this kind of thing. This is what the Chancellor has been saying. This is what she's been saying. This is what Labour have been saying. They're going to be physical responsible with the economy, with the public purse strings, and all that kind of stuff. Don't have to like it. Don't have to agree with it. But that's what they have been saying all throughout. Yeah, before they, as they were coming in the run-up in this election and coming into government, they have not changed that tone whatsoever. This is another reason why many people, like myself, are not happy about the fact that we still, at the time, we still have a two-child benefit cap. And we want the two-child benefit cap to move, despite the fact that a majority of people, according to public polls, still think it should stay, even though it makes people worse off. And it actually harms child poverty. And that the government can afford to do so, can afford to remove the two-child benefit cap, but choose not to, not on the premise, in my opinion, because they want to make people poor. I don't think that's the reason. I think it's been part because of what voters are saying in polls and what their own probably inside analysis are saying about it. But also the second reason is that if they do it at the budget, at the end of October, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves will be introducing her budget, and then we'll forecast and see where money is going to be spent. If she does it there with showing the physical responsibility, obviously it makes Labour look better in terms of them being able to look after the money. And this will reinforce that premise of us being physical responsible. We recognise the two-child benefit cap is a problem, but we needed to physically, and this is the argument, if they remove the two-child benefit cap, that there's them being physically responsible. This applies here to this story because they want to obviously sort out every single strike. They want to sort out public sector pay forever. They want to give everyone the best reasonable day. But they also want to. But she also wants to be physically responsible as well. So that's the kind of the difficulty for her to deal with this. Now, I'm not saying we can absolutely 100% trust what she's saying and what she's doing. No, of course we can't trust her 100% what we're saying, what we're doing. But I always say, you really wanted the last 14 years of what we had with those boys, those guys in blue? No. Like, those doctors and nurses and strikes, you can say whatever you like about our NHS staff and workers, but at the end of the day, the Conservatives chose not to give them a pay rise. They chose not to give them a pay rise. And that's really important to highlight here. So let's read a little bit more into what they have to say here. So a schism is growing among trade unions about how aggressively they should be pushing the Labour government over public sector pay. One senior union official said there were really angry union leaders behind the scenes amid claims over public sector workers have been neglected from recent pay deals. However, others in the Labour movement have accused the hard left union leaders of engaging in cosplay by making unrealistic demands. Now, there will be unions, obviously, that will try to push. Obviously, there are going to be union leaders who will try to push for unrealistic demands, as I do agree with that premise that some of them do that. But some will also be like realistic about what they can get as well. They have to be realistic about what they can get as well. And I think some of them should not push their buttons, I think is what I will say. In September, the TUC will meet in Brighton for its annual Congress, the first under a Labour government in 14 years. And at the event, delegates will debate a motion tabled by the Civil Servants Union, the PCS, calling for pay restoration in the public sector to be a key feature in our campaigning with the new government. According to the Financial Times, restoring public sector pay to its pre-austerity level in real terms will require an increase of 21% and cost more than £50 billion at a time when Chancellor Rachel Reeves has claimed that she has the worst economic inheritance since the Second World War. A senior union official told the Eye that the PCS motion showed that there is schism growing between the unions. A source said that some unions want to give Keir Starmer the benefit of the doubt and work privately and quietly behind the scenes with the new government, but others are pushing for a more aggressive stance. I think they should go with the latter, go with private and quietly behind the scenes. I think that is better. I think it's better for them. I think it's better for their image. Their image by the mainstream media they have been tarnished quite a bit by the mainstream media, the right wing, who have consistently been trying to paint unions and whatnot as bad people that they keep taking money away and all that, when the majority of unions are just trying to get better work, better pay, better terms and conditions for their workers. That's just the whole point. If you are somebody who is a so-called, I don't know if you would call it working class, I don't really like to use that term, but if you're someone who's working and you are on middle income or whatever, certain departments and sectors, obviously, unions can help make that difference. And I think that's I think unions are really, really important. But I also really think they should push more privately and quietly behind the scenes, me personally. But I could also understand if some people who are union members saying that they should be more aggressive as well. So while the new government has signed off inflation-busting pay deals for some workers, including junior doctors and train drivers, they said there was a perception that other public sector workers have been left out. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of really angry union leaders, they said. However, another senior union source accused the PCS, which is one of Britain's more left-wing unions, engaged in cosplay. it was always going to come, they said. Part of this is about the unions who love nothing more than to be let down by a Labour government. They said the motion did not represent a coordinated bargaining agenda across the TUC, and that other unions understood to have been more measured in their demands because they know the challenges that the public sector have got. They know how cash-strapped these organisations are, the source said, but they warned that there could be greater friction with the government when ministers unveil their public sector reform plans. The big issue really is going to be what comes next. What are their plans for reform and invest in public service? And that's when the difficult stuff comes, the trade-offs for jobs and pay. And a leader and another union agreed that there were splits across the TUC. We've got a broadly sympathetic government, but the left of the movement will want to push harder than the centre ground earlier, they said. Depending on the type of membership that you've got, you will lean more on sympathy for government or being ready to take action if you need to. However, the leader has played down the prospects of industrial action on pay in the short term, saying louder, shorter general secretaries understood that we need to give government some time. He added that the government had made a positive start with public sector pay deals. Yes, this is the thing. Yes, I've said this so many times, and I'm glad this has been put here. You've got to give 100 days. Let's see what they do in 100 days. I understand how people feel about Labour, but we've got to be patient. Just got to be patient. If by the end of this year we've not seen something at least from Labour, okay, I can understand it. But we got to give this new government a chance. And remember, 14 years is a long time, guys. A lot has happened in 14 years. We're trying to reassure our members that we will pursue their ambitions and their desires with a full vigour as we will always have done, but at the same time we've got to be more sympathetic government than we have been in the past 14 years who have only been in government for a few weeks. Yeah, and this is the key thing. They've been in government for only a few weeks. Like I said, I'm not a Labour enabler in any way, shape or form. I have chastised Labour numerous times on this channel, as you guys know. But I'm also a realist as well. And realistically, you have to give Labour a chance to see what they do in government. Just the same thing, even when Rishi Sunak took over, I was very sceptical. But I was like, okay, let's see what he does. And he crumbled and burnt. Now let's see what Labour does. Therefore, the amount to which you begin to signal there is an industrial trouble on the horizon, then if they don't meet our demands is pretty limited right now. So a TUC spokesperson said this is a complete non-story. This is what they're claiming. All of our public sector unions are focused on tackling the recruitment and retention crisis in our public service left behind by the last government. So TUC are saying this is absolute nonsense. There's nothing like this. 14 years of Conservative government decimated our public service, and unions want to work with governments to put that damage right. So Keir Starmer's relationship with unions has been in the spotlight after he used his first week in government to push through a series of pay deals in an effort to end long-running strikes. A national debt deal worth nearly 15% over the last few years has been offered to train drivers in ASLEF, but the union announced a series of strikes in a separate dispute, including drivers working for London's North East Railway, the LNER. The RMT said it expects the same terms of those offered to ASLEF drivers to end strikes by rail workers. Junior doctors were meanwhile offered an uplift worth of 22% over 2 years. Critics of the pay deal have said they have emboldened the unions. GPs launched industrial actions after the junior doctors' pay deal was agreed, while border guards have also announced new walkouts in dispute over working practices. So the TUC has dismissed the story that the Eye has had here, that there is some kind of that there are splits. Whether you want to take this on board or not is entirely up to you. So sometimes the Eye has a very good story. There have been times where the Eye newspaper have been caught with their pants down in some stories as well, and I think that is an important caveat to make as well. But overall, I would not be surprised if there are those debates behind the scenes with the unions. I think that is something to be said there. And it all depends which departments, which sectors, sectors on them. But I do think it's really, really important that trade unions, of course, push as much as they possibly can to get a fine trade deal, while also understanding the government's situation that they have been inherited under 14 years of Conservative. By the impact of Brexit, by the impact of the war in Ukraine, the impact of COVID, while one or two of these are global issues, Brexit is obviously something that we imposed on ourselves. That is also damaging our economy as well. The Chancellor does have some very difficult decisions to make. I know it's a line you've heard many, many times, but it is a difficult decision. I do think that they should try to get. I do think the Chancellor should try to give them as close as a good deal as she possibly can, to give to stop, because everything does better when there are not strikes. Country runs better when there's not strikes. People are able to get their trains. People are able to get. It will reduce any problematics when it comes to appointments and doctors and stuff. Yes, of course, we still have a backlog of appointments in the NHS. Yes, but it will just help if we can keep these. If we can stop these strikes. But let us hope that they can get these pay deals sorted, guys. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you think about... do you think there is splits within the trade union chiefs? Do you think maybe this is a non-story by the News? Is there something to say from this? Do you think that maybe Rachel Reeves is going to be very careful with the purse strings? Or is she going to be a bit more lenient and maybe give unions a bit more of what they need in order to keep their workers happy? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, we greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. But if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.